investigating if the attack at Pearl Harbor and the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima are linked. The events that happened on the 7th of December 1941 and the 6th of August 1945 will change the history and affect the outcomes that were concluded and decided of World War II was the Japanese attack on the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii and the bomb dropped on the city of Hiroshima in Japan, untouched by war. Ever since 1931, Japan had an ongoing invasion and expansion of territory in China to spread the Japanese population, gain natural resources, and rule most of Asia to recover from the Depression. America and the League of Nations had been pressuring Japan to withdraw its army in Manchuria and eventually all of China. The reason for this could be because of the open door policy, which allowed the US, Japan, and all European nations would receive equal trading from China. Another reason for this was because the League of Nations all agreed for the withdrawal of China in February 1933, resulting to Japan opposing to this idea and pulling out from the League. As to this, economic sanctions were discussed, but America, being Japan's main trading partner, and other countries couldn't agree with the sanctions or a weapon ban because of fear of how Japan would react. Also, Britain and France wanted to continue the trading of Japan to avoid war. After a while, the US started to freeze major oil exports or machinery to Japan that were all needed for the conquering of China. Soon Japan was receiving no trade from the United States, which enraged the Japanese even though they persisted with the invasion. The Japanese concluded that they needed the major natural resources from America and its allies, as America previously froze all exports to Japan because of the invasion of China. This meant the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor intended to cripple the US, therefore answering and complying to the demands Japan proposed. The day before the catastrophic event, the US President at the time, Franklin Roosevelt, made a final peace deal to Emperor Hirohito of Japan to avoid a war, specifically not in the Pacific. As the Emperor did not reply to this offer, that same day the US Secret Service were breaking a code sent from Japan to pass to the President. America knew that an attack was imminent. On Sunday the 7th of December 1941, 423 Japanese planes were ready for the command of Admiral Nagumo to take off. Approximately at 6 a.m., 230 miles north from Utah, the first set of attack planes, which were 183, headed for the U.S. land of Pearl Harbor with the early intention to attack. An hour later, at 7:02 a.m. at Utah's radar station, two Army operators detected the Japanese plane, but the junior officer regarded them as expected American B-17 planes, which were anticipated to come from the U.S. West Coast. This is one of the main significant reasons why Japan got to Pearl Harbor undetected. 13 minutes after the second attack, a wave of 167 planes were ordered to fly up to Pearl Harbor. A third attack was scheduled to fly to Pearl Harbor to attack the gasoline tanks, but the Japanese thought that the surprise attack was successful and the whereabouts of the US carriers was unknown. The first attack was tactical, and it specifically targeted the airfields and battleships to minimize the chances of attack. The second wave of attack specifically targeted the ships for damage or destruction. In the long 90 minutes of the attack, the Japanese had, out of 6 aircraft carriers, none were harmed. Out of 2 battleships, none were harmed. Out of 2 heavy cruisers, none were harmed. Out of 1 light cruisers, none were harmed. Out of 9 destroyers, none were harmed. Out of 8 tankers, none were harmed. Out of 23 fleet submarines, none were harmed. Out of 5 midget submarines, all were sunk or grounded. Out of 414 aircraft, 29 were destroyed. The Americans had, out of 390 aircraft, 347 were damaged or destroyed. Out of 8 battleships, all were either lost, recovered, damaged, or grounded. Out of 49 other ships, 5 were damaged or destroyed. Out of 8 cruisers, 3 were damaged. And out of 30 destroyers, 3 were damaged. The same day in Washington, D.C., the last section of the Japanese message stating that diplomatic relations with the U.S. were now broken off is decoded and reaches Washington at approximately 9 a.m. An hour later, another Japanese message is interpreted, instructing the American embassy to deliver the main message to Pearl Harbor at 1 p.m. Being several hours behind, the U.S. War Department alerts Pearl Harbor using a telegraph due to the radio contact being temporarily broken, resulting to the message being received 4 hours after the attack began. When the attack finished after 90 minutes, a total of 2,008 sailors were killed and 710 were wounded. 218 soldiers and airmen were killed and 364 wounded. 109 Marines killed and 69 wounded. 68 civilians killed and 35 wounded. In total, 2,403 were killed and 1,178 were wounded. Out of this, a little less than half, totaling to 1,104 men aboard the battleship USS Arizona, were killed after a 1,760-pound air bomb dropped into the forward magazine, causing a catastrophic explosion that caused all of these deaths. On the 8th of December, the US and the British declared war on Japan, with President Roosevelt calling this December the 7th a date which will live in infamy. The world was shocked by the surprise attack, resulting to many popular Sunday programs being interrupted for the news. This shockwave made an incredible amount of young Americans to volunteer into the armed forces. The attack also put a lot of trust in the president and unite the nation as one. Four years after the event at Pearl Harbor, the US would invest in a $2 billion project that would wipe out a whole city and ultimately have an extraordinary breakthrough in nuclear technology. This was the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima on the 6th of August 1945. For the 4 years after the attack of Pearl Harbor, the US were constructing a bomb that would make the Japanese surrender, but the reason of the making of the bomb were justifiable and therefore would contribute for why the bomb was allowed to be dropped. There are many reasons why the atomic bomb was made and to be dropped on Japan. Some of the reasons are: it would end the war quickly. The atomic bomb was almost guaranteed to end the war because Hiroshima was a city untouched by war, and after the full power of the atomic bomb hit in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Japanese couldn't risk more fatality. The revenge for the events at Pearl Harbor. The Japanese held a surprise attack on the US land in Hawaii. This killed and injured thousands of people. Not only this, but a significant loss of ships, military weapons, and transport. Lack of opposition of the using of the atomic bomb. Many people agreed that the using of the bomb was beneficial and it would contribute to Japan's opinions on surrendering, and this would also soon benefit to the ending of the war. The large reason would be to justify the cost of the Manhattan Project, which totaled to be £1,889,604,000, which was the cost of the making of the atomic bomb that would be dropped on Japan and evidently end the war. On the 6th of August 1945, the B-29 plane named Enola Gay was ordered to fly over the city of Hiroshima and drop the bomb Little Boy on it. Approximately an hour before, the US used a tactical advantage which would deceive the Japanese and ultimately would let the atomic bomb be dropped without alarm. This tactic was that a couple of B-29 planes were sent to fly south of Japan, which triggered a warning given to radio broadcasters that stopped many cities, including Hiroshima. Approaching at high altitude, many more planes flew over Japan in groups, no more than 3, and were posing no threat to the area, so the air raid was lifted. This was a major reason why the plane Enola Gay was able to drop the bomb undetected without triggering a warning raid. At around 8:15 a.m., the plane Enola Gay flew over Japan above Hiroshima and dropped the deadly bomb, which rose over 2,000 feet high and instantly killing tens and thousands of people. The impact of the bomb was so secret, not even the crew on the Enola Gay knew how powerful it would be, with the co-pilot saying, "My God, what have we done?" This shows how secret the plans of the atomic bomb were and how carefully planned it was. The crews had months of training, but they were only told their mission 24 hours before the dropping.
Advantages and disadvantages of Hiroshima. It would most instantly end the war. Japan avoided being invaded. American lives were saved. It was an example of how powerful and superior the Americans could be. To test the power and the force of the bomb. Stopped the suffering of captive prisoners. Helped to focus on making good for the Americans instead of bombs. It killed thousands of innocent people. Many innocent lives could be saved by soldiers fighting. The Japanese had to surrender. It was a high cost of $2 billion. People who didn't die suffered a lot from radiation poisoning. It destroyed environment, poisoned fish, water and food, which would be given to the citizens of Hiroshima. Radiation spread by wind and polluted countries and Japan's seas.
I conclude that the events at Pearl Harbor and the dropping of the atomic bomb were connected due to the previous relations the Americans had with Japan. I believe that they are linked because Japan and America had a precise motive to attack each other, and that's the main reason why America could justify the dropping of the bomb, because Japan held a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor.